Hello, hello. Yes, the Bloodlust is live. We are here today for Trackmania Tuesday. But I appreciate everyone for being here. If you haven't already, check out my second channel. I just started it. That is TDM Archives, The Dead Man Archive, at The Dead Man Archive. That will be my home for deep dives and lore content. I might throw some of my walkthroughs in there too. But for now, we are going to be getting into Trackmania Tuesday. Yes, we are going to, of course, look at the records for week 51 to start. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a cold or whatever, but I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to freak anybody out, but I had like a really bad migraine last week, and it really messed me up. I've been having like dizzy spells and stuff ever since then, so I'm trying to work through it. It's been a little rough, but I greatly appreciate everyone being here. I'm still happy to be here myself. We're gonna hop into week 51, of course, checking out the records, starting with Glacier Rescue, track 251. I did do a little bit of grinding on a couple of these tracks, but as I said, I have been kind of messed up, low motivation, haven't really had the opportunity. So basically most of these scores, except for I think like one track, is whatever I managed to get on stream last week. Let's start out with Glacier Rescue. I appreciate everyone for being here. If you are new to the channel, of course, we do Trackmania every Tuesday. We check out the previous week's records, and we do hunting on the new week's tracks, and we try to, learn some tricks, see if we can't find any cool shortcuts. Sometimes we even discover the world record route. Doesn't mean that we pull it off, but sometimes we do find it, so definitely do stick around. Greatly appreciate you. Hit that follow, subscribe, give me a thumbie. Helps with the engagement. Always want to do one quick run here so you guys can see what's going on. So we do a little wiggle up this hill, keep contact, gain as much speed off of that as we can, come around this corner. That bump actually really helps, kind of in a weird way. That one did not. And there you go, pretty easy. Pretty easy run. It's a very simple track. Just that one section of ice is really the hardest part, in my opinion. I'm not really good at ice. We got a relatively good score. Managed to make it into the top 50 in Oregon. That's pretty much my baseline. I want to at least make it into the top 50 in Oregon on every track. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to improve much, so we're gonna check out the records here. We got Doodle Bobby, Twist, Corny, Simpson, and Frummins. The only one I recognize there is Corny. Corny's been on the leaderboards in the top 5 on a lot of tracks over the last few weeks. Might have seen him before, but the first that I remember seeing him on was that Plastic Bug Slide track. The Reactor Bug Slide track. That one was actually a lot of fun. Corny managed to pull off a ceiling or a roof hit right at the end of that track. Got him way ahead of everybody else. Totally unexpected move. But we're going to start with Frummins here. Got Frummins, Simpson, and Corny. Corny ahead of everyone. They go nice and straight across that section. Frummins going super wide there so he can go really tight on the inside. Going nice line through this section, keeping super straight there, maintaining most of his speed, and coming in just behind Simpson by 3 thousandths. Looks like they actually almost crossed the finish line at the same moment. They do have a little bit of a slide coming out of that ice section there, but they keep a ton of speed into the finish, managed to get themselves 5th place. Very clean, very smooth run, really tight to the inside there, just barely missing that section of rock. and straight across there, nice and tight into the finish. Beautiful run. Super simple run. So we're gonna go from Corny's perspective here. Corny and Twist. Looks like they're almost perfectly even at the start there. Corny, or Twist, going a little more wide to the left so he can get slightly tighter into the right. And he goes to the left there. Nice, smooth, keeping all of his contact, no sliding out. Twist actually with Corny's skin, or one of Corny's skins. That's the first skin that I ever saw Corny in. Interesting. And I've never seen anybody else ever using it before. So I feel like maybe those guys are like friends or something. Maybe. Literally have never seen that skin on anyone else. So do love the Pepe skin that Corny's got going on right now. That's hilarious. Actually, I love it. Great run. Once again, super smooth through that section. Nice and straight up there. No wiggles. They get straight across. So we're gonna go from Twist perspective. These are the top two. Twist going straight across. Doodle doing a little bit of a wiggle there and catching more speed through this section, going a little bit wider through the ice. And oh my, barely missing that rock. Actually clipped the corner a little bit. That was a really tight turn right there, actually. Let's just go Doodle Bobby here by himself. Little wiggle up the hill there, keeping contact, gaining some speed, nice and tight to the right. Going a little wide through that section and sliding some, but straightening out nice and well. Barely missing that rock, getting a tiny bit of a speed slide around that corner. Super low speed slide even. Very nice run. Love how he's got the snowflake skin on the ice map. That is very apt. And yeah, that corner cut, just barely missing that rock. What a beautiful run. Absolutely well done by Doodle. What's up, Nat? Thanks for popping back in. How you doing? Absolutely beautiful run by Doodle Bobby there. Twist right behind him by only 100th. Slightly ahead in the beginning, going a little wide there. Doodle managing to keep that distance all the way to the end, but actually losing some speed in that last turn, which is kind of a surprise considering that incredible line that he took there. Well done to Doodle Bobby. 385 on track 3 right now. Holy crap. Dang, you just keep getting better every week, man. Love to see it. Here pretty soon, we're gonna be freaking reviewing one of your runs. So that was Twist, Doodle Bobby, Corny Simpson, and Frummins. All beautiful runs on track 251. That is Glacier Rescue, week 51. We're gonna move on to the next one. That one's a super simple track, nothing too crazy to review there. This one's kind of an interesting one. So this is like there's like a reactor down and some wood and a bunch of grass and a ton of other stuff. Or actually there's no reactor down. I was wrong about that. That's the next one, I think. Nice smooth line through that section. Hit a lot of that grass. Probably could have skipped more of that grass. Would have been good. And probably could have jumped from that corner straight to the finish or something. Heck yeah, dude. Getting better and better. Nice, beautiful line through there. Trying to keep as straight as possibly can across every section there. Trying not to touch any grass, or at least as little grass as possible. Obviously, you can't not touch any grass, but nice and low through that wood section. Nice tight turn across that section there. Would be better if I had gone just slightly tighter. So map 5 is the reactor map. Oh, okay. I knew there was a reactor map in this week. I couldn't remember which one it was. So we'll cross the wood section there. And I feel like you might, if you go right across that green line right there, you actually might be able to get there a little bit faster than going to the next pavement section. Dang, wood always screws me up. I am not great with wood. Unless like the whole track is wood, I am horrendous on it. So we go there. No, I think it's hard to say. Wiggle across the grass, keep as much of our speed as we can, and we go across there, redirect ourselves slightly. That was kind of an interesting run. Nothing too good, but that way you can get an idea of what the track looks like. So we got Get Shrimped, Aquarium, haven't seen them in a while, Coons and Sobs and Corny. Everybody in the top 4 there are kind of like older weekly veterans. I don't mean like they're older, I mean like they've been around for a while. We've seen them on the leaderboards a lot, so they're going real tight, almost dropping off the edge of that wood and like I said, across the green strip there. And wow, what a line. That's interesting. Through the grass, across the bush, and into the secret finish. I was told it wasn't worth it. I agreed, because it just seemed like a horrible approach, but God, what a run. That right there across that green, the edge section right there, and oh my, like bug sliding into the finish. What a crazy run. If I had thought about this or come back and tried to grind on it, I might have been able to find some of that. Obviously that green section there, I figured that out just now. But this right here, what a incredible turn. That I would not have expected. Looks like Coons and Aquarium almost getting a bug slide into the finish. Straight across the edge strip right there, keeping all of their speed, skipping a ton of that grass, jumping down onto the wood, and then bug sliding into the finish. Get Shrimped coming in 5 thousandths behind Aquarium. Really close run, of course. Leaderboards are almost always super close, but we've got Coons and Aquarium going left there, bumping across the grass, reducing their friction. Get Shrimped was actually trying to keep or maintain as much of that wood platform as they could because they wanted to skip the grass. But Coons and Aquarium discovered that if you go nose down to that grass section right there, you actually bump across it and reduce your friction and keep your speed. Well done. What a great run by everybody there in the top, or in the bottom of the top 5. We're gonna go with Sobs, Coons, and Aquarium. From Coons' perspective here, nice wiggle down that hill, keeping your contact, all 4 tires on the ground, super low across that wood section. Looks like Coons got a little bit of a jump there, going across the green strip on the edge, bumping across the grass, reducing their friction, and bug sliding into the finish. What a foot long bug slide, just enough to get him into the finish there. Coons definitely did bump across, or Sobs did bump across that wood section there. Bug sliding into the finish. Sobs barely missing the edge of that rock going in. Let's go from Sobs' perspective here exclusively, because I want to see here where he goes across this wood. It actually looks like he gained some air time right there. Oh, almost. Left tires come up off the ground, goes across the green strip, doesn't even hit the grass at all. Bouncing across that section, reducing his friction, super tight to the right there. And he hit his brakes. While he was on the wood, you would think hitting the brakes right there would slow you down, because that's what brakes usually do, but it actually worked out for him. What a good run by Sobs. Actually, yeah, incredible run by Sobs. Super close to that rock just before the finish line, but let's go ahead and throw Corny in there. Let's go Corny Sobs from Corny's perspective, once again with the Pepe car. Going down the hill, nice and tight, keeping all your contact. Sobs lifted up on the left tires, but keeping contact enough. Corny, oh, he stayed on the wood, thus gaining himself a little bit more speed, just enough to get into the finish. 200ths ahead of Sobs. 27 thousandths, in fact. Beautiful across that green strip there. That is such a tight path. And just perfect into the finish. Drops himself into the exact right angle to bug slide himself right in there. Did not see the in-strat. The way I went, it was slow. Yeah, same. Have you ever heard of a tarantula hawk wasp? If you have not, keep it that way. Yeah. I have heard of a tarantula hawk wasp. In fact, I think I was playing Resident Evil last night, and one of the puzzles involves like a giant wasp, and it kind of looks like one of those. Interesting. Well done to Corny, Sobs, Coons, Aquarium, and Get Shrimped. What a wonderful run. Beautiful path, super tight line across the edge strip there. Corny keeping as much of the road as possible, skipping all of the grass, and just getting perfect speed into the finish. Honestly, based on the way that everybody else went, they're skipping across that little bit of a grass section to gain themselves a little bit of distance. There is a debate on like what's better, whether you want to shorten your distance or maintain your speed. And there's actually a track that was recently released that is like the perfect example of that. It's specifically designed to like to kind of end the question on that debate somewhat. That was a terrible angle, but I just wanted to try it. Oh, and I did get a little bit of bug slide there. Wasn't fast at all, but I just wanted to test the path. That was kind of fun. That is Verde Light, week 51, track 2. Excellent work to everybody there in the top 5. That is Corny, Coon, Sobs, Aquarium, and Get Shrimped. Everyone did a wonderful job. Beautiful runs. Look at how close the leaderboard is. Less than a tenth between everybody in the top 5 there. In fact, less than half of a tenth. Yeah, almost exactly half of a tenth between them. Excellent work. Great job to everybody. That was an incredible run. Learned a little bit there, actually. I noticed that the edge strip thing myself, so like I said, if I had come back and done a little bit of grinding on this, I probably would have discovered at least that much, but the bug slide into the finish, that one kind of surprised me a little bit. I was not expecting that, for sure. And slipping between those bushes, they really actually nailed that. They did a great job figuring out that path, piecing it together, and coming up with a wonderful run. Once again, excellent work to everybody in the top 5 there. Sobs, Coons, Corny, Aquarium, and Shrimp. So we're gonna go to Verdant Village, 2 green maps. So we're gonna drive alone here. Actually, yeah, we're gonna drive alone here. So there's actually a lot on this track, and I did not have the time to investigate everything. There's a bunch of really interesting paths. There's a ton of different directions you can go. Of course, this is the Pathfinder track, though there are some probably optimal directions, of course. Go through there, and then there's a finish line over there. The path I found, however, comes through this little section here, and then you jump over to that wood to the left, and you wrap around and kind of come back towards the start. We'll get it here, keeping as much of our speed as we can through that section, wrapping around this checkpoint, and then into the finish line there. Nice and quick, about as early as you can get, at least from what I found. Made it into the top 27, top 30 in Oregon. So, I mean, the fact that I maintained the top 30 in Oregon without grinding at all tells me it was at least probably a good path, maybe not the best path. There are a couple of finishes that are slightly closer, but like it's just really hard to figure out like the route, because you definitely have to go from like one route to another and then find a really early finish. There's like 2 finish lines that are right up to the left of the start. Like if we look here, there's a finish line there, there's a finish line there, and there's a finish line there, and there's checkpoints in every direction. And I mean, like there's so much, like it really is hard to say what might be the best. That is probably the weirdest checkpoint of all of them. Why is that even there? Do you know how Tarantula Hawk Wasp reproduces? And not, that's why you should keep that. And if not, that's why you should keep it that way. Yeah, it lays its eggs inside a living tarantula, right? And then the little grubs eat off of their or actually no, it's not a tarantula, it's like big caterpillars and grubs and stuff. And then it like eats them slowly, starting with the non-critical organs until the body shuts down basically, and then the little larvae spawn out of it. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Anyway, moving on from National Geographic, emphasis on the graphic. We're gonna go ahead and look at the records here. We got Bengut, Hobbit, Niku, Corny, and Ikoko. A bunch of names actually that we haven't seen in a while there. A couple names anyway. Bengut, Hobbit, and Niku, haven't seen them in a while. Ikoko, I think Ikoko was actually on a couple of them last week, but we're gonna go from Bengut and Hobbit's perspective with Niku there in the front. We're gonna go from Niku. They go to the right, catching this one, going up the hill to the right, yep, and then skipping the checkpoint because they already hit a number 2. Oh, they have a 2 on the, oh my god, wow. Wow, I'm so mad at myself right now. This is another one of those scenarios where I found the path, but I just didn't put it together right. God dang it. God dang it. God dang it. Yeah, I did actually, this was one of the paths that I discovered, but they had a little bit of a slight route difference. Namely that checkpoint right there. I didn't realize the fact that there was a second checkpoint already on that route. In fact, there's 2 of them. So you can skip the first one and go through the second one there. It's really hard to land on a good angle on the road there if you go through that second checkpoint. So they get a nice clean landing there, straight down the pavement, wiggling behind the building, straight across this section and right into the finish there. Looked like they were almost perfectly even. They were really close. Bengut, Hobbit, Niku. Nice, beautiful run there. So we're gonna go with Corny and Ikoko. Oh, and the game crashes. Oh no, who was it? I think it was Corny. We've had a few runs like this before. One of them, the first time we ever had that happen, it was actually like a legit cheated run. Eats the tarantula while avoiding the vital organs. Yeah. Keep it alive and then the babies eat the rest. Yeah. Right. It's not always a tarantula though. I mean, yeah, tarantula, they're called a tarantula hawk wasp, but it's not always a tarantula. Sometimes, actually a lot of the times it's like caterpillars, large caterpillars and stuff. Both of the top 2, really. That's interesting. And they are legit. All right, well, we're gonna try to at least look at one of them. See if maybe we can't break the system a little bit or unbreak it, I guess. We're gonna drive alone here. View records. Let's go Corny. Well, we can watch Corny. Corny, nice smooth run there, keeping almost all of the pavement, barely missing that tree and getting what looked like almost kind of a bug slide. Nice, hitting all of that pavement straight, barely missing the edge of that building. Keeping mostly straight behind that building, doing a little bit of wiggle and barely missing that tree into the finish line. About as tight and early as you can get. So it's Ikoko actually. Yeah, Ikoko's the one that crashes it. Oof. Oh yeah. Maybe they were tied at one point and Ikoko barely improved just before the end. All right, well, Ikoko crashes the console. We get to see Corny's run though, so let's go from Corny's perspective. They are really close. All right, so we're gonna drive alone and once again view the records here. Oh, actually, it's 200ths between them, or 2/10ths. No, yeah, 200ths. Now my stuff's not loading. Okay, so we're gonna go from Corny and Niku with Corny in the front here. Do straight across the grass. Corny maintaining a straight line and a lot more of this section there. Barely missing the edge of both of those buildings, coming around the corner and just barely getting in there ahead of Niku. Wrapping as close as you can get around that tree into the finish. Absolutely excellent run, keeping all of the pavement straight across that last section. And nice tight line into the finish. Absolutely excellent run. Beautiful by Corny. Corny's just super smooth. That's one thing. Basically every run that we review where Corny is on the leaderboard, Corny's thing is really just like straight line precision. Everyone else does a lot of wiggles and stuff. Corny is just super smooth, almost perfectly straight across that section. Just a slight wiggle behind the building where you see even Niku right there, just all of this kind of stuff. And it's not because Corny's moving a lot, that's because Niku is doing all this weaving back and forth comparatively. Corny just making it in such a tight turn into the finish. They're barely missing that tree. That's another thing Corny does incredibly well, is like mere pixels between a wall and their tire right before the finish line. Like, that is a level of precision that I could only dream of. Well done to Corny, Niku, Hobbit, Bengoot, and prospectively Ikoko, but we can't look at their runs, so we're gonna believe that they are legit, and we're just gonna move on. So this is Speedway featuring Blem. We're gonna look at our replay here. Nice, tight across that section. I had to slow down a lot. I tried this run a bunch of times on stream last week. If you do it right, you can actually full speed both of these sections, but it is really freaking hard. You gotta be like perfect, picture perfect precision through that section. And in that one, you have to kind of freaking thread the needle between the two, because you gotta go really wide and then come back to the left. So go really wide, come back. You can hit that one full speed. I did it a couple of times, but on my best run here, obviously, I drifted. Want to keep all your contact for that section, and then you want to go really wide and then come back again so that you can keep all of your speed and going into that finish line. So we're actually going to try that once here. So we're going to go really wide here, and you got to turn really early. I did actually, like I said, I did manage to do it a couple of times. You have to slow down just a tiny bit, like right here. And then you go, yeah. Well, it's not the perfect run, but you get the idea there. We're gonna try that one more time here. We're gonna go down and then just a little bit of a turn, barely missing that wall. You wanna keep your contact here. I had to slow down again because I bounced, but then you wanna go really wide here and cut that corner. That corner, there is so much time to be saved on that corner, and I just don't have the precision for it, or the patience, one of the two. I mean, I probably have the precision, but definitely not the patience. Go really wide, and you want to come and cut back tight there so you can keep all of your speed through into this last section, straight into the finish there. You met Techie yesterday. Oh, wow. You were in a live hunt or something, live run? So we're gonna go ahead and look at the records here. As you see, I finished at number 73 in Oregon. Again, I did not grind at all on these tracks, but I did find a couple of really good paths. If I had tried, I probably could have at least improved a little bit. I don't know how well I could have done. Yeah, okay, so they go really tight, or really wide there. Interesting. Park going through the full contact section there, and they do actually drift, barely missing that wall. Holy crap, so much speed. The park actually doing a unique path there, going for the full contact route, but they had more speed than the others, which forced them to have to slow down more. And Corny and Park actually tied into the finish. I love seeing that when you have two different paths that equal out to the same time. It's always fun seeing that, knowing that like there's not just one correct path, you know, like there are actually ways to improve, or like ways to put your own style into it and still be, you know, on the top or whatever. They do land on that downhill section. That's a big thing, actually, is landing on that downhill. You need all of your speed. I only managed to carry my speed through this section enough once so that I could land on that downhill. But you want to land there on that downhill to pick up as much speed as you can. But the park, oh my God, park coming so, oh, just that right there, right before that last checkpoint. The fact that he came so close to that, he literally could not have been more than like a pixel away from that, actually a pixel away from that wall. If he had straightened out like a microsecond later, crazy, absolutely crazy. Well done, great run to Corny, Park, and Masa. I'm impressed to see that Corny and Park tie on the finish line there, and they took different routes. That's all, like I said, that's just cool to see. When you can see that people are taking different routes, you're not always forced to go the same way. Adjust with the stadium car. Ton of speed there, hitting the downhill, slight drift, straightening out, and barely almost touching the wall into the finish line there. Excellent run. Masa so far behind, it's kind of actually mind-blowing how far ahead Adjust is compared to them. We had 3 people that were almost perfectly even, and then Adjust is just a full car length ahead. The amount of speed, the amount of precision, the lines that you have to take here is, oh my, that snap is about as good as it gets right there. Once again, barely missing the wall right after the last checkpoint there. Excellent run. Hitting all of that downhill, keeping full contact there, slight drift, snapping into the straight line, and just as straight as you can get into the finish there, reducing their distance as much as possible. This is definitely a distance route, and I mean, you could almost say it's a speed and distance route, but keeping a nice tight angle into the finish line there. Well done, great run by Adjust. So we're gonna go Adjust and KRAZY. Adjust with the random car skin. KRAZY full contact around that first corner, keeping full contact through that turn, drifting in and getting a double straight, or a double snap. So keeping almost full contact there, actually doing a, what was it, is that a quantum slide they call that, where you're sliding and full contact at the same time, and a neo slide there, or was it neo and then quantum? Just doing all of the things. KRAZY, incredible, super impressive. What that first turn, actually, I want to rewatch that. That first turn, nice and smooth down the hill, first turn, oh my God, so close to that wall. Barely making it into that road section, keeping full contact all the way through, double snap, slight speed slide through the checkpoint, and straight into the finish there. Absolutely just incredibly beautiful run. Adjust going to the right, hitting that downhill. KRAZY catching up just before the checkpoint here, and looks like Adjust had to release just a time. They had to adjust before the finish. KRAZY, though, managing to keep all of their speed. You can see Adjust lagging right there. They had to release the gas, otherwise they would have hit the wall just before the finish. KRAZY managing to get a nice tight angle into the finish line there, keeping all of their speed, and sniping the record just at the end. If it just hadn't had to release right there, he probably would have had that record. But what an incredible run. Beautiful work by KRAZY. Just absolute perfect precision, almost touching every wall on the way through and gaining that little bit of extra speed just before the finish line, thus sniping the record from a just. Unfortunate for a just, but what a beautiful run to see that is. That double snap right there into the quantum slide, or neo slide, I can't remember which one's which. He said the thing! Yeah! Well done, absolutely beautiful run by KRAZY. I am mesmerized by it. There's actually so many things going on here. So full contact there, and then I think that's a neo slide, and then down full contact there, nice double snap into a quantum slide, into a straight line to the finish, and keeping all of his speed, barely missing that wall. Just an incredible run. Work to KRAZY, Adjust, Masa, Corny, and The Park. Of course, making it into the top 5, no matter what your time or position is always something to write home about. Well done, great work to all 5, everybody that made it. So we're gonna move on to track 5 of week 51. That was Speedway, featuring Blem. Track 254. We have Darude, week 51. Now this is the reactor map, and this is where we're gonna see some crazy stuff. So, of course, you wanna go straight through this section, try to keep as much contact and turn as little as possible. Since we are on dirt, turning is a huge deficit. You really don't wanna turn, because there's a ton of friction every time that you turn or change your angle. You see how much speed I lost right there? Just for a slight little turn. And now there is a stunt right before that last checkpoint. I tried to figure it out, and I do not have the ability to watch other people's runs. I don't have the X track sharing platform or whatever like people on PC do, and I'm not part of the Discord group where everybody shares their runs with each other so they can, you know, make sure they're the only ones that get the records. I think that's shitty, to be honest. I think that should be a bannable offense in the weekly shorts, but we go through that section. I just want to do this last section right here. If you bounce off of this sign just right, you can flip yourself into an angle straight through that checkpoint and even potentially directly into the finish. You can do it just right. We adjust, and nope, dang. It's a really hard thing. You have to nail the angle just right. There it is. Almost. I actually one time flew through that checkpoint and almost into the finish, but I hit the ground before I got there. Didn't really gain a lot of speed off of it, but once I hit that sign and did that, I realized that that's probably how we're going to see the record achieved here. They're going to be hitting that angle, and they're gonna freaking launch themselves straight into the finish line. You gotta hit it just right though, of course, as you saw. So we're gonna go ahead and view the records. We got Carroll Jr. Carroll Jr., Corny, Blood TM. Shout out to Blood. We're gonna start from Carroll Jr.'s perspective here. So they go super tight to the right, almost can't even see how they start. Really close through the checkpoint, super straight line there, and oh, they drift close to that checkpoint and they just reduce their distance. Nice clean route through the whole track, straight through that checkpoint, nice and tight through that section. Not even really getting any zoops off of it. Maybe one there at the end. I was expecting some crazy zoop action, but it looks like it's just a really smooth run, reducing your distance as much as possible. Looks like Corny managed to make it through there all the way with full contact after that third checkpoint. Corny getting a zoop here, obviously. Managing to get ahead. They went wide so that they could turn tighter through that third checkpoint. So we're gonna go look. They go really tight to the right there, really close to that checkpoint. Corny going a little wide here so that they can bug slide themselves into an angle through the last checkpoint and straight into the finish. Though they did lose a little bit of time to Blood TM. Blood TM managing to get in there literally 1,000th ahead of him. Corny almost had the run. Excellent work, excellent work. We're gonna go ahead and look at It's Cam now with Blood TM behind him. It's Cam once again going to the right, super tight through that section. Much straighter than Blood TM, getting an interesting zoop. What the? Bumping the rock and flying himself into the finish. That is actually a lucky ass run. Bumping the rock, that should have killed his run right there, dead. But this zoop absolutely launched him into the finish, getting in there for second place. But that still is nothing compared to KRAZY Dude Crook. KRAZY Dude Crook, almost a half a second ahead of anybody else. Must get a crazy zoop here, I'm assuming. Bug sliding through this section and bumping the rock on purpose to zoop himself straight into the finish. They did it on purpose. What? That is crazy. Purposefully bumping the rock. But why? How is that a thing? I don't understand. KRAZY Dude Crook is crazy. Please teach me your ways. What is happening? Oh my god. Why? Why is bumping the rock the way? How does that even make sense? How does that even make sense? He went so crazy. Holy crap. Oh my god, he gets like a triple zoop into the finish there. What is this? Why? I don't understand. This should be a dead run. Why does bumping the rock set you up so well? That is crazy. What a crazy run. Oh my god. Dude is absolutely living up to his title. God dang. It's Cam and KRAZY Dude Crook doing something that nobody else saw. How is bumping that rock the way? I don't get it. I don't get it. Someone please tell me. What is happening, bro? I am literally like, my mind is blown to shit over this right there. That that was indeed a crazy run. I don't understand that. I could watch this literally 1,000 times and it will never make sense to me. I don't understand. Is it because of... It's gotta be because of that little section just after the checkpoint, because there's a little dip right there, giving them a nice setup for that zoop. I don't get it though. I just don't get it. Oh my god, what a mind-blowing run. Holy crap. Definitely saving the best for last in week 51. Oh my god, KRAZY Dude Crook and It's Cam just blowing everybody else out of the water with what should be a dead run. I don't understand. Oh my god. What insane tactic. What an insane tactic. Holy cow. What is that? I will never understand that. What an absolutely mind-blowing strat by KRAZY Dude Crook and It's Cam. KRAZY Dude Crook just doing it even better than anyone else. KRAZY Dude Crook, It's Cam, Blood TM, Corny, and Carroll Jr. They're in the top 5. Excellent work to all of them. KRAZY Dude Crook, possibly, I gotta watch that again. I gotta watch that one more time. Possibly one of the most memorable runs in any weekly ever. I can't. I just can't. I don't understand. I don't. There's like, what is the idea there? How does that work? Why does smashing that rock give you more speed? It should be a dead run. Oh my god. Absolutely mind blown. Freaking incredible. Once again, great work to everybody in the top 5 there. Crazy dude Crook, just I don't know what to say. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. What a crazy, mind-blowing run, breaking the 13-second barrier. The only man to do it. Holy, well done to Crook. Once again, it's Cam, Blood TM, Corny, and Carol Jr. Wow, just wow. Oh my god, that is, I'm gonna give the track a thumbs up just because that run itself blew my mind. Like, oh my god, how? It just doesn't make sense. Somebody, like, what, how does that work?